Well, that sounds like blasphemy.
He's gonna hurt the
I
children.
want that man arrested immediately.
We can't do that, sir. This is America.
Sir, this is a Wendy's drive-thru.
The only thing you'll have to fear is fear itself.
Our time, the only salvation is to be good. Be good.
Everyone knows how popular dragons are in Asia. The dragon has a very special place in the hearts of the Asian people. The bird and serpent goddess combination that creates the bird-serpent dragon is expressed in the early Han Dynasty figures. Notice the ridges around the head of the dragons, representing mushroom caps. It's almost always present. The kingdom of Bhutan exists in the eastern Himalayas. The history tells the story of King Lingpa, who, while out searching for mushrooms one morning, fell asleep and had a vision of a monk who gave him a scroll and told him to look well and get me some food. When Pema Lingpa was done preparing the food, he went outside and the monk had disappeared. He looked at the scroll and it read, "At the foot of the valley he would find his sought-after wealth." After this event, a number of scrolls were presented to him during a series of visions. Coincidentally, the head of the state is the king of Bhutan, known as the Dragon King. The people there are known as the Dragon People, and Bhutan itself is known as the land of the Thunder Dragon. Bhutan officially adopted Buddhism in the 7th century AD. The oldest artifacts from Asia appear to be from around 1000 BC from the Jomon era, but they're kind of rare. Most artifacts and figurines start from the Han Dynasty 200 BC to 200 AD. This coincides with the era of the people of Colima, Mexico, and Kushan Empire in India, as well as the beginning of the Roman Empire. The figurines from the Han Dynasty also use the arms to create the mushroom caps similar to the Egyptian mushroom pose. There's wall art that depicts the Guardian of Midnight holding two mushrooms that double as staffs. These are the same priest-doctor staffs we see in Egypt, the caduceus in Greece, the Kushan priest-doctors on coins from the same era, and the crozier in Rome. This symbol becomes the Ru-Yi scepter known throughout Asia in the 18th century. Buddhism didn't really take off until the 7th century, the same time as the beginning of Islam and the era of Muhammad. Both the Buddha and Muhammad are imaginary, fictional characters that never existed. There were never any figureheads of religion until the religious cults started in America, like the Mormon Church, the Jehovah's Witnesses, Jim Jones, and Heaven's Gate. Oh boy, is that last one a doozy. The UFO cults. The story of the Buddha is one that revolves around mushrooms, and if anyone in the religion can't see this, they need to get a pair of glasses or maybe corrective eye surgery. The mushroom dominates all the Buddhist iconography. The Buddha was supposed to have obtained his enlightenment under a Bodhi tree around 500 BC. Based on all the previous mushroom history of the world, I would say he was a little bit late to the party. Every depiction of the Bodhi tree is obviously a mushroom. The designers of this era made little to no effort to disguise this for the uninitiated like we see in other occultings of the mushroom, such as the wheel, the hat, the shield, or the spear. The era of Gandhara, around 1000 AD, saw a major metropolitan district created between Asia and India in the area of what is now Pakistan. This is where the majority of our images and artifacts come from. This was a center of higher learning and spirituality, similar to Egypt 2,000 years prior. There's a wheel of the law, which appears all over the place. This is obviously a mushroom cap. It's depicted in several ways, but always reveals mushroom symbolism. Sometimes it's part of a stupa, which can also appear in different variations as well. Then we have the stupa by itself, which is just a stack of mushrooms on top of each other. Entire buildings are built this way, even in Japantown, San Francisco. Another object we see everywhere in Buddhism is the parasol or umbrella. Similar to what we saw in Mexico, little effort is really made to trick the uninitiated. If you think about it, though, they don't really need to. Just think about how many people, maybe yourself included, went all this time until now without seeing this as a mushroom. A lot of it takes place on unconscious levels. We take everything for granted and walk around asleep most of the time. It's time to wake up from that slumber if you're not already awake. Atlantis and Lemuria are popular in modern times. Plato first talked about it, but it was all theory on the perfect society, not a recounting of an actual location that existed. The myth of a real Atlantis appears to have started with Madame Helena Blavatsky, as far as I can tell. She founded the Theosophical Society in 1875, and in 1888 she published The Secret Doctrine, which makes mention of Atlantis. However, Jules Verne wrote about it as early as 1871 in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, though I suspect he borrowed the inspiration from this from Blavatsky. Ignatius Donnelly first published Atlantis, the Antediluvian World in 1882, right in between the time Blavatsky founded the Theosophical Society and the time she published The Secret Doctrine. Blavatsky had traveled to Tibet to learn all of this, supposedly. That's the key here. She must have been such an important person because she was supposedly shown secret ancient documents by a group of monks that revealed these things to her. In a book by Tim Maroney, the Book of Dizyan, the truth is revealed that Blavatsky was a liar, a charlatan, and a complete fraud. What she held was knowledge she acquired in her life, possibly through Rosicrucian, Freemason friends or family. Her works were later praised by Manly P. Hall, and both of them were heavily promoted by Jordan Maxwell, a friend and early mentor of mine. In Tibet, it is known there are two sacred mountains, Mount Kailash and Mount Himalaya. Mount Kailash is also called by the Buddhists Mount Meru, and was said to be the sacred mountain of Shiva and his sons. I wouldn't be surprised if mushrooms grew at the base during certain times of the year. It's sacred to the people of four religions, Bon, Buddhist, Hindu, and Jain. Elevation is 21,000 feet. I suspect Blavatsky used this information and substituted Mount Meru for Lemuria and Mount Himalaya for Atlantis, and this is actually where she derived her Atlantis mythology. People chasing the source of Atlantis are wasting their time. It's all mythology, and that's what some of the modern secret societies are involved with, creating and promoting new mythologies. The CIA specializes in this nowadays, but it seems to have started in the late 1800s with the Theosophists, who it appears spawned off early science fiction by influencing the likes of H.G. Wells, Jules Verne, Edgar Rice Burroughs, Arthur C. Clarke, and Isaac Asimov. This will be covered more in the last episode. I never learned much from Blavatsky, I think mostly because I always developed my own personal spirituality instead of depending on sources outside myself for that, but I have tremendous respect for the work of Manly P. Hall, who was not a real Mason but an honorary one. Most people don't know that. He compiled all the esoteric works from all the ages and made them understandable and available, but he was not a Mason. And I appreciate the contributions Blavatsky made as well as Annie Besant in the work they did to provide an alternative spiritual philosophy in the world of esoteric occultism. The work of these groups, like the Theosophical Society and the Anthroposophy education like Steiner, were tremendous in helping steer the culture away from Christianity as the sole religion in America, and they helped shape much of our modern society by being myth makers. Myth makers are important for culture because they continue to pass down the core of myth that has been carried on for millennia. They truly carry the torch, and for that we owe them our gratitude. Blessed are the myth makers, for they hath concealed the mysteries behind holy doors of Swiss cheese. This concludes the presentation titled You Can't Unsee It, Episode 10, Buddhism, Blavatsky, and Atlantis. For more information on this subject, visit ancientpsychedelia.com and check out the free online version of the book, Ancient Psychedelia, Alien Gods and Mushroom Goddesses. Thanks for watching. One last thing I should mention, if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to support me in my work, here are several ways you can do that. It does help tremendously, and I really appreciate it.